The West Virginia Mountaineers have landed a seven-figure deal to sell the naming rights to the Coliseum. Wow, man. Rim Baker, he didn't lie about putting us at the top, baby.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia, baby. We're talking about the Mountaineers on the football side again today, baby. And look, we're excited to do it. As always, we always love talking about the Mountaineers, and specifically when it comes to that money, man. Obviously, this episode is going to be brought to you by Mazda. Mazda, like our players, sweats every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward with Mazda. Move and be moved. Not doing it alone. As always, I'm bringing on a guest to talk Mountaineer sports with me. This is a big one, man. This is one that I've been hoping to get for a couple months. He is the vice president of the Voice of Morgantown Media, also the host of the Voice of Morgantown show. Bernie Mac, what's up, my dude?
Mountaineer Paul, how we doing, my guy?
Doing good, man. Thanks for jumping in. Okay. You know, we just hear from Mike Casaza. Make sure we give due credit here. Mike Casaza reporting that West Virginia has sold the naming rights for its basketball arena to Hope Gas, naming it the Hope Coliseum. Obviously, we didn't plan to lead with this, but it's too big not to lead with. So $10.4 million to build it, 10 years. This is a 10-year guarantee contract. 7 figures annually. Bernie, what's your reaction?
I think it's great. Look, I love the innovation of Rem Baker and how he's looking at keeping West Virginia relevant with today's NIL landscape. It's what we have to do. You know, I mean, we don't have oil money like the Texas schools. This is how West Virginia University and the program in general really has to kind of evolve to be relevant in today's college athletics landscape. So I'm really excited for it, man. I think it's long overdue. I think it's a good move. I think it's going to bring in a ton of revenue that's going to free up additional funds to be put toward keeping us competitive in the primary sports, specifically in the Big 12. Kudos to Rem Baker and everybody that's involved in the decision. I think it's a good one.
I agree, man. This is a big deal. He said he was going to do it. They're working towards it. You know, they preemptively put out that post about we're going to be at the top funding tier of the Big 12. Well, obviously, they knew what was coming down the pike before when they put that post out. They're not just going to put that post out on ass, as they say, right? So, yeah, definitely excited to see that. It's exciting, man. I mean, what can Rich Rod do with resources? That's the question. We've never really seen him have resources. He's always in places that have lacked resources, whether it's Arizona or Jack State. Obviously, Michigan, different story, but it was also a different time because you still had to develop teams even back then. So it's not really the same as it is now where your resources just flat out matter. And I think this will allow him to – he wants to recruit traditionally, Bernie. He's been very open about that. And the way he can do that is, look, it may cost money to do it, but you can bring in your guys and just pay them to stay. And that's how he wants to do it. If we can get that kind of thing going, I'll get really excited about it because if we can keep our guys that we bring in, well, we've got a 30-year history, Rich Rod, proven to be able to do just that, Bernie.
Agreed. I think those are great points. I do have concerns just because Rich Rod's an old school coach, right? And I give him credit. I think he's tried to evolve as much as he can in today's day and age. But I do worry about his interaction with the players. I think, he's hard-nosed.
It's blunt.
He can be temperamental at times. And today's day and age, a lot of these kids are just not responsive to that type of coaching, unfortunately. So I hope Rich Rod continues to evolve and learn how to build those relationships. I think he has to a degree too with guys like obviously McAfee and how highly Pat speaks of him. But I just really hope there's not too much pressure on him to win quickly to where he burns bridges and pushes kids out the door, because You have to have good
Yeah.
communication. You have to be able to speak openly and honestly, and you have to be held accountable. And I think if Rich Rod's able to do that with his players, he's going to be able to build a good rapport and do exactly what you said, Paul. But I just, you can't sacrifice the longevity of the program to try and be successful too quickly, depending on the talent level you have. And you have to coach kids differently. You know, certain kids react differently to different kinds of coaching. Right. So the one kind of hard ass approach doesn't always work as a coach. So you have to kind of evolve. And I hope he's done that through the years. I think Jack State, he might have been able to do that to a degree because he expects his guys to succeed in transfer. West Virginia, we have to do a better job keeping everybody home when they're successful. So to your point, if we have the resources, that's only one component. The other component is going to be the coaching staff and how Rich Rod reacts and evolves to keeping those relationships so that they stay. Because but the Pat McAfee's, the Pat Whites, the Owen Schmitz, the Steve Slaytons, all these great players he had under him previously didn't have the NIL carrot dangling in front of them. How many guys would have stayed? I mean, would Pat White have stayed for 4 years if he would have gotten offered, $5 million a year for Alabama?
Probably not. Probably not. He'd have been the number one player in the portal.
Yeah. So again, I think it's so different. Rich Rod's a smart guy. I hope he realizes and evolves, but you got to be careful in today's day and age.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's dive into the first topic that we originally had here. I had a clip that I put out that it's kind of my plea to West Virginia fans, like, don't give up. We're 2-2. We beat Pitt in the first 4 games. Are there disappointments? Have there been some valleys? Absolutely. This Utah team is not gangbusters on offense. And although they have a good offensive line, yes, they do. They got pushed around last week by Texas Tech, and I still believe in Jamori Robinson and Curtis Jones on the edges. I do. I think they're good players. Are we still learning a new system? I think that's why we're playing a bit slower right now. Yes. Mm-hmm. But I think that we're absolutely capable of beating this Utah team at home in front of a home crowd, especially if we start a mobile quarterback and can actually get some semblance of a run game and some first downs moving, Bernie. What are your thoughts?
Agreed. I think the fact that Utah has a quarterback in Dampier that is, of course, a dual threat. That's given us, of course, right? So
he's not as slippery as the other two, though.
He's not, but I mean, I think he's still the team's leading rusher or somewhere. So I mean, it's just a guy that's going to present problems. I was actually really surprised. It's probably the first time I'd say Zach Alley didn't adjust well. I think he clamped down more in the second half, obviously, but I was surprised at how caught off guard he was in the first half, where Kansas was really able to kind of do what they wanted. I love Zach Alley. Want that guy to get like the Brinks truck backed up after the season and give him whatever he wants, stay as long as he wants. So I'm not complaining there. But I agree with you, Paul. I think West Virginia could beat any team in the country when they play up to their talent level and their capabilities. My concerns have really been with the play calling too, and I've said this numerous times on X. Like, you have to be able to alleviate pressure. You have to take shots downfield. You have to throw screens to keep the defense honest. You got to run counters. You got to run draws. Widen the field a bit. Rich Rod's a really great offensive coach, and I just have not seen him like dip into this tempo and talent level that he has to relieve some of the pressure, and I've just been a little surprised by that. So I think we could beat any team when we play to our capability, but it's going to be a blend of good coaching, the players not getting down on themselves, everybody learning to gel with so many injuries and changes on the roster. And, Mountaineer Field's got to bring that same energy that we had during the backyard brawl, because I was there and that was electric, man. I mean, I think they had a tremendous impact on that game, and I think the fan base needs to continue to show up, and it was great to see the student section like really support the team that day. It was fantastic. Nobody left early.
A great change they made there, right, with the student section where it's at now.
100%. Again, that's Rem Baker addressing that, right? So
yeah, it is. It's what it is.
Yep, and it just was great. I mean, the vibe and the environment for that game was electric, and we're going to need that same kind of energy to pull the upset against Utah.
Yes, Raven. Utah does have a mobile quarterback, a very mobile quarterback, Devin Dampier. Yep. Last question before we get to the break here, and I want to address one thing you said. You've mentioned Zach Alley getting caught a little off guard. I was watching a PFF show, and they had a guy from Vegas come on, and he said got to our game. He said, "Listen, the situation West Virginia finds itself in on the road at Kansas is not only a bad situation; it's by our metrics the worst situation in all of college football in 2025. Coming off a rivalry game in overtime against your biggest rival, where you just completely released in 18 years of 13-9 into the ether and getting that game done, and allowing Lance Leopold, who's undefeated, off the bye, right? Those two things coming together, I think, has had a big impact on why Zach Alley was probably not as good as he has been, because our players are still early in the learning cycle of his defenses. He's just probably limited to an extent as to what he can implement. You can't prepare for everything. And I don't think our guys are up to speed enough yet to adjust to everything like they would be maybe a year from now. My best guess.
Yeah, I think those are good points, right? I also thought originally I had picked the Kansas game as a loss, assuming we were going to beat Pitt and, essentially be 3-0 going into Kansas. I felt like it would be too much of an emotional drain, the hype, everything, and game day, possibly being in town, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I felt better after we played the kind of game we did to beat Pittsburgh. I felt like it kind of shifted, and now the momentum was more with us instead of having that emotional up and down. So I was really surprised. But again, Tye Edwards not being in that game affects the offensive component of the game so much. I don't think fans realize that when you don't have a stable back that could consistently chunk up some yardage, that puts your offense in a really bad position. Again, questionable play calling throughout the game. It's just not going to help. So there were so many factors we didn't know about going into that game. I'm not putting anything on Zach Alley. I think that was just, like you said, too many X factors occurred. It happened. But look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. West Virginia could beat any team in this league. There's no team to me that is like super scary. The Oklahomas are gone. The Texases are gone, where they were recruiting 5-star athletes consistently. In today's day and age, they had endless money. We don't have that anymore. We don't have to worry about that. So the talent gap isn't that different. It's more just, again, we've got a new coach, we've got a lot of new players, and to your point, everybody's still learning new schemes, both offensively and defensively. So I'm totally locked in on this game this weekend, no pun intended. But honestly, I think we have a good shot. And if they could just play their game, pick up yardage, chew up some clock, not continually run with the high tempo, switch it up a bit, do some things to keep the defense honest, you're going to have players emerge that are going to step up. So I'm excited for the game. I'm not giving up on this team. I still think they have a shot of making a bowl. If they can make a bowl with the injuries we've had with Jaheim White, Bray, everybody, all these starters, Tye Edwards playing unhealthy, Nico now, that's a win in itself in year one. And I think that's the expectation we need to have as a fan base.
Yep, and we'll talk more about that on the other side as we're going to get into the keys to the game. Obviously, we put Tye Edwards. I put Tye Edwards on the thumbnail because I think he is the key to this game, the game changer. We'll talk about why next. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by our friends, guys, over at DoorDash. We love talking about DoorDash. Look, it's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP. Who delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving money every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For West Virginia, obviously Jalen Henderson delivered in a big way. In the fourth quarter, he really showed to a lot of us why he was brought over from Texas A&M and why it could be a game changer going forward. Because when the pressure was on, Jalen Henderson came through, no hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, I don't think it's going to be a fluke, and I think Jalen Henderson can go on a streak. And just like Jalen Henderson delivered for West Virginia in the fourth quarter, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stacking up all season, and then save up to $250 and $100 in DoorDash credits. Do it this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash where the terms apply. Promo code through November 18th. And, of course, we can't forget about our friends over at FanDuel right now with a can't-miss offer. They always have those can't-miss offers going on, and the NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready with the can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, make you holler, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. That's if you win that first $5 bet. It's quick, easy, and the best way to find a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready? Download the FanDuel app today just go to FanDuel.com and get started. It's that simple, actually. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And it's segment 2. Let's crack open a do and bring back on Bernie Mac, the legendary voice, co-host, vice president of Voices Morgantown Media. Man, what do you guys got going on right now?
It's the same stuff, man. It was, like I told you earlier, it was fun doing our first show from the Blue Lot last week for the Backyard Brawl, or 2 weeks ago. That was great. I don't think I've ever done that. So being able to actually be set up there with Starlink and have guests on the show, and it was fun, man. So we're trying to evolve.
How does Starlink work?
Yeah, it was great. It worked well. I mean, connection was solid. Audio was great.
Upload speed good?
Yep. It was fun, man. So
I'm thinking about buying it, man. I really am.
Dude, it was legit. I mean, especially everybody that goes to the games, you get no service in that Blue Lot. So, it was fun. I had a blast. So we're continuing to just try and do some different things and, play nice in the sandbox with everybody. I'm grateful for you to invite me on the show today and look forward to segment 2 here.
I think we all should get along. We should all help each other. Honestly.
Yeah, just a line against the burners.
Against the burners. That's right. From the top rope, Bernie. All right. So Tye Edwards is a game changer. I've got him on the thumbnail. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think he covers up. I think the best way to put it here is this, Bernie. He's the kind of player like Ollie Gordon was one for Oklahoma State. Amos Zaraway was one for us in the past. Mm-hmm. There are certain guys that cover up deficiencies you have, right? Like some guy is elusive, like Tavon Austin, and you can have a bad offensive line. And you might never know it because Tavon Austin makes people miss. Or like last week against Pitt, those holes weren't big. He just busted through them. He what they call get skinny through the hole. Mm-hmm. He just made the hole open itself. What did you see from your vantage point of Tye Edwards in that backyard brawl? And do you think you can kind of pitch that thing forward to a Utah defense is much better? But what do you think?
I think he's extremely talented, and he has that downhill capability that he hits the hole differently, right? Like he's not going to try and make that first pivot and have somebody miss because that's not his game. He's a lot like C.J. Donaldson, but I think he's a slimmer, quicker,
a little more explosive
version. Yeah, he just and C.J. looks great this year. I want to give him a lot of credit. I've said this before. Anybody that transfers, I wish them nothing but the best. I'm always supportive of the players because it's not the same loyalty that it was a long time ago, right? These guys, some of them have kids, some of them have families. We have no right to judge these kids on what they do. They have to do what's best for themselves and what's going to set them up to achieve their dreams. So I hate the fact that people sometimes, poo-poo on the players or question their loyalty, like when Hudson Clement left. I just hate that stuff. So just want to put that out there. But CJ slimmed down, right? And that was a different kind of strength and conditioning program, which I'm no fan of Neil Brown, as everybody knows. But I think they made him a different player that was better suited for their system. Tye Edwards and the way he runs right now is perfect for what we have in our system when he's healthy. Now, I don't know if you know this, Paul. I do medical for a living, right? But the type of injury I've heard that Tye Edwards has, that's a lingering injury. So I'm really concerned. They're going to put a hip pad on it. But it's one of those things where if he doesn't let it get healthy, it could linger and he won't be full force for weeks. So I'm curious. We need somebody else to step up that could be that 1-2 punch. I thought Bowers is very elusive. Clay Ash hasn't shown me anything yet that I think.
I know. I hate it. His mom's messaged me over it a couple times by criticism.
Yeah, and I mean,
I hate it.
I'm being a backseat quarterback here, and I get it, or couch quarterback, but at the same time, you don't see it, right? So I think we need to continue to find people that are going to plug well into the system to have that change in tempo and just keep legs fresh and just let some of these young kids play. And I think I've gotten a lot of pushback. People are like, well, you know, they're going to get hurt. Our offensive line sucks. You don't even know if these kids are going to be here in a year with the NIL. So take what you have when you have it and try and win the games when you have an opportunity to win them. We've lost too many good players through the years. You know, Trotter, look at all the attrition we had on the O-line that burnt us this year. You know, it's just we can't afford to make those mistakes. So I think you play the guys you have when you have them, and you let the chips fall where they may. So Tye Edwards is a game changer, though, man. I'm excited to get him back and get him healthy, but I don't want to rush him back either.
So I asked you to give me 3 keys to the game. Did you do that?
I think 3 keys to the game are going to be play calling is number 1. I have not been happy with play calling from Rich Rodriguez. I've said it numerous times. You have a deep threat in Cam Vaughn. You have a mid-level threat in Gallagher, who, you know, played a fantastic game in Pittsburgh. I don't understand why he's not running some deep posts and some goes and things with Vaughn. I just can't figure it out, right? I want to see more screens. I want to be able to see some of that, keeping the defense, aggressive defense, honest so that we're not trying to run high tempo. That's key 1. Key 2 is going to be bottling up their quarterback. We have to continue to do a good job of maintaining the edges with a dual mobility quarterback. It's just very difficult. I think Jamori coming back into the fold is such a huge win for this defense. And I think 3 is alleviate the pressure. And that's one that I know a lot of people aren't saying, but I want Rich Rod to just chill out, right? Like, I appreciate his passion. I appreciate the fact he wants to win quickly. I love that about him. But again, the expectations here are not through the roof anymore. Like, just be a good coach to your guys, command their loyalty, command their respect, and just don't put too much pressure on them to do what you're expecting them to do. Just be a good coach. And there's a fine line between those 2 things. And I just hope he steps up and continues to do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, like I said, if you told me we were 2-2 with a win over Pitt before the season, I'd probably take it. I wouldn't be 100% floored over it, but that win over Pitt carries a lot of weight. I think Pitt's a better team than – I think they're better than they showed against us. They didn't play their best. So we'll see. I think we rattled Holstein. That was the whole key to that game. I think we just rattled him. The crowd, the hits, it all took a toll. They had several wide open players that had he connected, it would have been a different game. So, you know, that's what Texas Tech did to Dampier last week, and that's what we're going to have to do. It's going to be really interesting. I think that they have a physical, imposing offensive line. They think they have 3 NFL guys on that offensive line. But like I told JT last night, well, so did we, and we were never any better than 6 games, you know, or 7 games with Neil Brown. So at the end of the day, I mean, you can have great talent on the O-line, but do you have skill talent to get the ball to? Seems like in this day and age, you kind of have to pick one or the other. Seems like it's almost impossible to fund both for some Big 12 teams. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, this game, man. I really am excited about Saturday. Are you going to be in the blue lot again, or did you say no?
I'm not this weekend. I had a lot of people ask me that. I wish I could, but unfortunately I had some stuff come up, and I can't be there this weekend. But I'm going to be doing the show hopefully like 2 more times before the season ends. So we'll see. But I got a question for you, Paul. So how are you feeling about the refs in the games? Because the things that bothered me so far with the officiating, and I thought there have been some really blatant calls against West Virginia. And I know we have to control the controllables, right? It's something you learn as an athlete early on. You can't focus on that stuff because then it takes you out of your focus. The stuff that happened in the last few games, specifically with the Pitt game, where Rem Baker released a statement, you know, saying the half shouldn't have ended on that penalty. There's no retribution for that, right? Like, those guys are not held accountable. We saw one ref crew get suspended for another game, but that game there was no repercussions, and that could have affected the outcome of the game. If we had those 3 points, maybe we don't go into overtime.
Right.
You had that. You had some really nasty calls. I felt like it went against us with the Ohio game, where I felt like they were playing really dirty and just seeing what they were going to get called for, and there was a lot of missed calls. I felt like there was a lot of missed calls on both sides, but their missed calls obviously affected us greater, specifically Jaheim and what happened and all that kind of stuff. But then
I
you
agree.
factor in that targeting call or non-targeting call against Bowers last week, which I just thought was egregious with no penalty. And for me, it's hard to look at that and say, what the heck is going on, right? Like, why are we being penalized again because of the situation with the suspension of the players that we went to court with the NCAA? Like, I hate to say that, but for me, I feel like there's always the NCAA, for whatever reason, consistently poops on WVU, and I feel like I'm getting tired of it. So I'm curious on your opinion on that.
I guess if I were going to ask questions about that, it would be, obviously these are conference level officials, and do they receive directive from the NCAA? Yes, they do. But before each game, I don't know how it works. You know what I'm saying? Like, do all the officials get the same directive for the week? Does the Mark Emmert call and say, before West Virginia game, West Virginia, whatever? Possibly. I will say I've got my questions too. The targeting call against Ashton was terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible call. Yeah. The one against Fred Perry was probably fair, but everybody knows Jalen Daniels has slid late his entire career. He's known for that. He's known for sliding at the last possible second, Bernie. If I decide my strike zone at running at 20 miles an hour is going to be your chest, and then you slide late and your helmet goes down, and now your helmet becomes my strike zone, how is that my fault if it happens after I've launched?
Right.
I get there has to be a penalty for it, but, I mean, to your point, it's just there's no easy fix, to put. But I mean, as far as like, obviously, this is I'd say probably getting into the tinfoil hat to say that the NCAA has is punishing West Virginia in these games. But man, it sure seems like it at times. It does. I think we've just at the end of the day, until more evidence, if this keeps happening, then I'll bring it up again. But for now, I would just probably conclude and say, really bad luck. We've received really bad calls. Rich Rod does himself no favors with the way he yells at people. Yeah. I would imagine. If you're asking me to be honest, the guy that yells at me, the old saying, you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar. But then again, Rich Rod has relationships with these guys for years. So, right. I mean, he knows what he can get away with. It's just, you do wonder about it. So,
well, went back to basketball too, Paul. Don't forget that. We got screwed over.
Oh, yeah. There was no doubt. There's no doubt in basketball.
Right. And think of like the battle appeal with the NCAA and how that was BS, and he got dragged
Kissinger.
out.
Yeah.
And then you look at the Vaughn catch, and you see that in replay where he clearly has 2 feet in and he's got a face mask on top of it and they don't give him the catch. So, I hate to be the conspiracy guy, but at some point you have to think like, hey, we're really not getting supported at all by the NCAA here.
It's not helping a team that's hampered already either. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like we're an elite football team or a basketball team, and these mistakes are making it harder for us to win. It's like we need these things to go right for us to have a chance to win to even begin with. Right. So, it sucks, man. Yeah. We got one more break here. Score prediction. I wonder what Bernie's going to say because he hasn't really leaned one way or the other yet. I'm excited to find out next. This episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by our friends over at, of course, and always, Mazda. We love talking about Mazda. Look, Mazda moves the game forward, right? For those who believe it's just not about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. After all, they move crowds, culture, and they keep moving the game forward. And this week's moment to move the game forward is, I have to say, and it's not in a good way, the Fred Perry hit on Jalen Daniels was a game changer. The game turned after that. And so it moved the game forward, but in a bad way for West Virginia. Thankfully, we get him back this week. So how did they keep themselves moving forward? Well, look, here's the deal. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's always more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Do it today with Mazda. Move and be moved. All right, we are back here with Bernie Mac. the vice president of Voice of Morgantown Media and the co-host of Voice of Morgantown show / podcast. Thanks for coming on, man. This has been a fun conversation. We still got another segment to go, though, and so I want a couple things from you, if you can. Very informed West Virginia fan. Always love to having those kind of guys on that really know the roster, right?
Mm-hmm.
That not just the headlines. Like you're deep into it, like I am, right? So,
Yep.
Give me some fringe guys that we kind of thought might be good. Like for me, one is Jeff Weimer. If you look at him on tape, he's literally an elite route runner. And I don't throw the word around easily. Or, he had 75 balls last year, over 1,000 yards. When he was UNLV, he made people look stupid. He just, unfortunately, like to your point earlier, we haven't thrown the ball downfield, So a guy like Weimer most people wouldn't know about yet. Who are some guys that you are looking to step up that maybe are fringe guys, and then a couple guys that just have to play well that we all know about? And then I know this is like 3 questions, but Who do you think will play quarterback as well?
So it's funny because you're asking me about my prediction for the game. I was going to say it really depends on who is going to play quarterback, right? Like that is such a tough call for me, man. I got into it a little bit, but really good, respectful conversation with some people on X, specifically a Texas A&M guy. And he's like, hey, I feel like you've kind of got a personal thing against Jalen Henderson. I'm like, no, it is not that. I just haven't seen it, right? Like I haven't seen that factor that elevates him above a Khalil Wilkins or Scotty Fox for me. So I look at Henderson and I say, okay, you're a senior. We're 4 games into the season. I'm really grateful you're here, but I just haven't seen that like Pat White factor, right? Now, I know that's a high bar, but I'm saying like I haven't seen the elevation of skill to make me feel like Jalen Henderson's my dude. Now, I look at Wilkins, I look at Fox, they're younger guys. Wouldn't it be more advantageous for the program to get these guys the same amount of reps moving forward so we know who our guy is when they're both mobile, similar to Jalen Henderson, to be in there, right? So for me, it's tough because I look at, the statistics. Henderson, I've seen him miss some throws this year. I can't remember who it was. Maybe School of Calipan or whatever his name is, like posted some stuff. Like,
he did,
hey,
yeah.
This was a missed route. This was this. I thought that was fair, right? Like he's highlighting the fact like it wasn't squarely on Jalen. So I appreciated that. But again, I haven't seen it. And maybe he needs to play a few more series. Maybe he needs to play that quarter. For anybody that's, been a quarterback, you need to get in that, like the comfort zone, the consistency.
He has not been given that opportunity. I don't think.
Right. Like he hasn't been able to get into a rhythm, right? You hear that all the time. So I don't want to be too hard on the guy. For me, I'm looking at long-term viability of the program. And I just really don't know that he's going to be the guy that's going to put us in a better place to do something. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I have a really hard time just trying to support him being our guy moving forward, especially if we're going to continue to figure some things out. So I don't know what the prediction is yet. I'll marinate on that for the rest of the game. But, they're not like my new guys. I mean, a Brown, I really want to see.
Justin Smith-Brown.
Yeah, I thought he was good. I looked at some of this tape from Florida. I thought he was a talented guy. So a little confused as to why we haven't seen him yet. I've heard
he'd be great for screens.
Yeah, and I heard he was, facing some injuries and some different things. I get it. But again, I just think like, hey, throw him in, see what happens. Hubbard's a guy for me. So you're asking under radar guys, right? I've heard Hubbard's turning some heads, and I think he would be a guy that I'd love to continue to see in the game and just see what he's able to do. I don't really have anybody else. I think we haven't utilized our skill players enough to really say we need younger guys to step up, right? Like Gallagher, I think I said it the first 3 games. Why isn't Gallagher involved more? Why isn't Gallagher getting the ball more? And then he gets the ball a ton in the Pitt game, and he's like a completely different player. So it goes back to scheme for me.
Well, we were able to run the ball.
It's just a matter of putting them in space to beat the other guys and do some good things. I just really haven't seen it yet.
A couple of things here from Jalen Henderson I wanted to show. Because how he looked in Jimbo's offense, he looked really comfortable in this offense, if I'm judging it on tape here. And I think he's a guy that if we get him to this level of comfortability, Bernie, he's got a great arm. He can make all the throws. He just hasn't looked like it at West Virginia yet. But if you study the tape, now this is highlights. This isn't tape. But you can still see it on highlights. Like he can make the throws. I don't know why he hasn't, like things like this are why I think was what we should do at West Virginia. Get him outside the pocket. That way you don't need the offensive line to be superheroes, but he's clearly mobile enough. And there are actually a couple plays. This throw right here, Bernie, is like really good. Like that's an incredible throw, lead him away from the safety.
Right, over the seam too. And I think the biggest thing you just said too, Paul, like, if you look at his footwork, and I wish you could have a side-by-side, and again, this is just me being picky, but you look at him, he is not comfortable behind the West Virginia offensive line. And if you look at how his footwork is with A&M comparatively to West Virginia, you're going to see a drastic change. So maybe it's just something about that to where he doesn't feel like he has –
There's a great example right there.
Yeah, you need 3 seconds, right? You got to make your reads, go through your progressions, and get rid of the ball within 3 seconds. If you look at Henderson and you look at the footwork I'm seeing with him on the A&M film comparatively to what he's doing with West Virginia, you're going to see him never set his feet. He's constantly skipping and jumping around. So I think that could be something maybe just from a mental standpoint. He doesn't feel comfortable with the offensive line. He always feels like he's got to look for that gap in the coverage to run the ball, which is why he hasn't thrown it.
Because, just judging off this, Bernie, I could see – I look at this and I'm thinking, oh, yeah, I totally see what they're projecting here, right? Yeah. Like from our staff standpoint, picking him up, that's a dot right there down the sidelines.
But against Texas A&M, right? Like, look how he's setting his feet. Well, and he rolls out well. When he's throwing on the side, he's rolling out. It's beautiful. Yeah. But every play that you showed before, like right there, stepped into the throw. That's, as a quarterback, that's what you need. And if Nico had that foot injury that they're talking about, it doesn't only affect his running ability, that affects your plant when you throw.
Everything.
So, maybe he fought through it and did something miraculous through the pick game, but I think people need to cut him some slack too, because quite honestly, between you and I don't think we're seeing Nico the rest of the year, and I don't think we're going to see Nico in a Mountaineer uniform anymore.
No, I agree. Here's a couple questions I have about that too, real quick before we go. Number one, how long have you known about the foot injury with Nico? Is it something new? Is it something he's been playing through? Or is it something that, just popped up in the last week? That's number one. And number two, like you said, let's cut Nico some slack. That Oklahoma State run is a great example of what I thought he could be like in Rich Rod's offense. Not exactly, because Nico doesn't have a ton of burst. But once he gets running, he runs at like a 4.6 level.
Right.
We have not seen anything close to that. Like he looked like a 5 flat type guy this year back there. Yeah. And I'm thinking, what has happened? He's either frozen with fear. He doesn't know the offense. Like injury was furthest thing from my mind, to be honest with you. But maybe that he's not the greatest fit injured for this offense. That's for sure. And then the last thing is, what does it say about our backups if he's been hurt all along and they still don't win with him? I have a lot of questions about that if that ever comes out. But overall, to your point, slack. He needs it because he's probably been playing through it. Imagine the pressure this kid's got on him. He's a program guy. He's stuck around for the program. And I always said this too, Bernie. The best thing for West Virginia would be if we could be good with him, because we know he's not going anywhere. Like anybody else, we can't say that for.
Yeah, agreed. And again, going back to like a medical background here, foot injuries are the worst. They take forever to heal. Yeah, so they were. Even if it's like a hairline fracture or stress fracture, like any of these things, it affects you so much because one, they hurt like hell when you wake up in the morning. Then they get better throughout the day. The inflammation goes down, but it's just one of those things that affects like your day-to-day in every aspect, right?
Yeah.
So I just, if I'm Nico, I have a hard time looking at this as an opportunity to stay in the program because he's a junior. Like it just, you got two really talented guys behind you. That's a redshirt freshman and a true freshman. Why would you stay if you're already looking at this? And he's just under the 4-game redshirt threshold to where he could maintain a year of eligibility.
Oh, he's just under.
Well, I mean, 4 games. 4 games, as long as you play more than 4 games, I believe you maintain your medical redshirt. So for me, I look at this and say, hey, if I was in this situation, I'm Nico.
You can still sue for it anyway. You know what I mean?
Like, would I want to stay behind a coach that has rotated me out consistently and I don't have a relationship with really, and whatever? Like, he has to look toward his dream of getting into the NFL. And if I'm just putting this out there, if I'm Nico Marchiol, I'm probably going to Colorado, not the West Virginia doctors, so I could get my opinion that's needed. And I'm out after the season and going somewhere else because I don't feel like the coach has my back. So
and exactly that's why my ears perked up yesterday on Rich Rod's press conference whenever he said, listen, we trust our doctors, but they've gone to Colorado to get an opinion. My ears immediately went, wait, what? We trust. Why did you feel the need to say that? We trust our doctors 100%, but he went to Colorado. In other words, this is their decision. Read between the lines.
Yep.
I felt the same way. So, yeah, obviously this could be any number of things. Hairline fracture, could be turf toe, which is technically a tendon that connects to the middle of the bottom of the foot. That's extremely annoying. And it's got different degrees. It can be strained. It can be completely torn off the bone. So who knows? Obviously, I don't think it's torn off the bone, but it's one of those lingering issues that you talk about, isn't it, Bernie? So I wanted to address this really quick because I hear this so much. Jerry J, it doesn't matter who the quarterback or running back is until the line gets its head of its gluteus maximus. I understand where you're coming from, and that is true to a point. But there are things you can do as a play caller, and there are things you could do with the mobile quarterback that hide deficiencies on the offensive line. Or if you have a running back like Tye Edwards that can make stuff happen in spite of an offensive line. You know what I mean, Bernie?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's what we talked about earlier, right? I mean, again, how many times do you see really over-aggressive defense, whether it's in the NFL or college, get exposed by throwing a middle screen, right? That's it. Quarterback drops back, fades back a little bit, a few steps back, all the other linemen pop out, hit the screen, and you burn them for 20 yards. I have not seen that once from Rich Rod. I've seen like the bubble screens, the slant screens. I have not seen like a true screen. I really can't figure that out. And then if you're not going for the deep threat, even if you have to quicken your release and just say, all right, I'm not doing a 3-second release. I'm going to go through 2 reads. And then I'm going to look, my primary read is going to be Vaughn. My secondary read is going to be Gallagher. Count to 2 and let the ball go. Whatever it is, fine. What happens, happens. But if you don't take those shots, you're never going to put the defense in a position to where they worry about the back end defense. And then you're going to get exposed and you're going to stack the box the entire game, which is what we've seen. Now, to Paul's point, if you have somebody like Tye Edwards, where it doesn't matter how many guys you put in the box, you're going to be all right because eventually they're going to cheat up and then you could burn them on a play action. But
which is why that works in the pit game.
Yeah, this kind of stuff.
And they had to hold Vaughn because that's why they got that PI at the end.
Right. So, I mean, again, this goes back to Jerry, your point. It's a mix of play calling, scheme, and not recognizing certain deficiencies that you have to address and changing your game plan. And, we saw that in the Ohio game. I gave Rich Rod a lot of crap because he kept up the up-tempo offense when his defense was continually being put on the field and not having a chance to recover. So you have to, as a coach, you got to look and say, you know what? My D's been on the field a lot. I'm going to slow down the tempo, give them a break because my offense isn't doing something. The lack of change and scheme by Rich Rod is really concerning for me right now. Love Rich Rod. I was so happy to have him back. I don't think there's a better hire, but I don't know what's going on with him. That dude needs to take some meditation or something to figure it out, because right now,
let's see what it looks like with other quarterbacks. I think some of this is Nico, with the limitations that we just had with him, and maybe it was his foot. I'm not sure. Not to be too hard on Nico, but yeah, it's time, man. We're over a little bit here, so I need a score and a prediction from you, brother.
My prediction is going to be 24-14 Utah. I hate to say it. I think we can win the game, but Utah lost to one of the top 2 teams in our league, and I just, until we figure out a way to change the scheme and get a quarterback comfortable, I don't know how our offense moves. Even if Edwards plays this week, he's not 100%. If he's questionable today, maybe that's Rich Rod just not wanting to tip his hat, which is fine. But again, I just said, whether it's any kind of bruise, a hip point, whatever you want to call it, those injuries suck. And you can put as many pads as you want. You're not running your full potential. So you combine that with the fact we don't really have anybody that's been proven to back them up. Everybody's banged up. We lost 2 starters on the O-line. Quarterbacks in question. It's a really big uphill climb for WVU this week. And, I want them to win. I'm going to be rooting for them, but they have to do something differently to win. And I just don't know that Rich Rod's ready to do that yet.
Did you notice how 2 of the lowest graded offensive linemen went on the injury report this week? I wonder if that was Rich Rod's way of benching them.
Yep. Again, game 4, right? So there's little maneuvers we don't always see behind the scenes that occur, and that medical red shirt or whatever it might be is a big deal to keep these guys in the program for an extra year, and everybody does it, right? So Rich Rod would be smart to do it this year if he needed to.
Thanks for coming on, man. Tell everybody where they can find you really quick.
Yeah, you can find me at Bernie Mac on X, Bernie Mac _VOM, and that's my primary platform. So follow me on there. I love fan engagement. Always enjoy having respectful discussions, even if we don't agree all the time. But you keep it respectful, I'll always respond. Yeah,
well, if there's anything
not get your response.
I'm not political, but if there's anything we've learned over the last month, it's that we need to be able to agree openly or disagree openly.
Yep.
Thanks for jumping on, brother. This has been really fun. Probably should have done it sooner.
Yeah.
Make sure you check him out. Well. Yeah. Make sure you check Bernie out over at the Voice of Morgantown podcast /show. Also, he is the vice president of Voice of Morgantown Media. Great job. Appreciate you guys so much. Before we go, got to let you know about one more thing. Another big moment for Locked On, as a matter of fact, as well as college football fans. Locked On, Fire TV present college football's kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview with Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 as he leads the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, who I should be having on in the coming weeks, along with former college star Jesse Holley, along with Locked On's local experts. It's a college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch college football kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Yeah, I've been trying to track down Coach Patterson, but everybody on the network is asking him to come on now that he's affiliated with Locked On. So it's kind of tough, but we will see you guys on the next one. Bernie Mac is obviously really good. Good to have you on, brother. We'll see you guys on the next one. Q Country Roads.